Okay, amazing. So yes, thank you so much for joining me for this spontaneous class. As I mentioned this morning, I have been doing a lot of teaching recently, and I thought it would be so lovely to share something with my community, with all of you, that I think will be really, really supportive. Now, I recognize some of the names here, and I see some new names that I don't recognize. So welcome. It's wonderful to have you here. And I'm just going to tell you what we will be doing today in the next half an hour. So firstly, as you probably know, I am Diana Bird. I am a neuro-emotional rewiring coach, and I help people break out of cycles of overwhelm, panic, dread, fear. And the part of my work that I want to share with you today is some really wonderful exercises that support us to come out of overwhelm. So, when we're feeling that kind of edgy, pacey energy, or maybe we feel like we've got no energy and we've kind of shut down and disconnected. We feel things are a little bit urgent, we're overthinking. It's really hard to be in the present moment, really hard to relax. These exercises, a number of these exercises really support that. And then we're also going to be doing a couple of exercises that touch on how we can release emotional pressure. So when we're feeling kind of full of emotion, that things are a little bit too much, how we can release some of that emotional pressure. So what I really want to encourage you throughout this session is to go at your pace. These exercises are really wonderful and they can be really supportive. But they can also sometimes, some people, they don't land for some people. Some people prefer some exercises more than the other. And also anytime we're working with our nervous system and our body, anytime we're working with emotions, things can be stirred. We can get a little bit activated. So I want to start with two short exercises that will help us if we want to just come back to a little bit of calm as we're going through this process. As I said, most of these exercises are about coming into a state of calm, reducing overwhelm. Now, sorry, I've written my notes down on my notebook and I've put it up here, but it keeps falling over. I should have put it on the computer and been modern. Okay, so the first exercise I'd love to start with is called orienting. And it's called orienting to safety in its full term. And this is all about showing our body and our nervous system that it's safe for us to relax, that we are not in any type of threat. And so it can be a very wonderful thing to do when we're feeling overwhelmed. So if you'd like to follow along, we're going to start by very gently allowing our gaze to move around this space that we're in. And we want to take in the whole space. We want to look above us. And we want to look below us. We want to look behind us. Both sides. And nice and gently turning your neck. We also want to look out our window, if we have a window, towards the horizon line. The horizon line is very soothing for the nervous system. It feels, the brain loves to see everything that's here. It's very safe and soothing. And then we also want to check out our exit. Great. And then we can just take a moment and see how that felt for us, see how that landed. And then we're going to move into some regulating breaths. And a regulating breath is also another wonderful exercise to do when we feel that overwhelm, too muchness, because it turns on the parasympathetic part of our nervous system, which is rest, digest. It's a very strong signal that it's safe for us to relax. So let's do 5 or 6 of these breaths. I'm going to demonstrate and then we can do it together. And it's a very short inhale, so a nice full inhale, and then a long exhale. And we can do the exhale through our nose if that's possible for us, or through our mouth if it's not. And let's do it in our own time. The most important thing is the exhale is longer than the inhale. Okay, so nice strong full inhale, long exhale. Let's do one more. Wonderful. And then again, we can see how that landed for us, if that felt soothing, if that felt calming. And these exercises, anything that feels like it's really landing for you, feels supportive, you can take away and use. Great. Now I'd like to move now into an exercise that supports releasing emotional pressure, and it's called shaking. And we can do it standing up or sitting down. I'm going to stand up. And this exercise I find wonderful anytime I'm feeling like things are a little bit, there's a lot of emotion, or I'm struggling to relax, for example, to go to bed. You're thinking about things, and then maybe there is some kind of irritation or some frustration, there are some emotions present. And getting up and doing a big shake can be really supportive to help us then move into sleep. So if you'd like to follow along, standing up, let's just take a moment, if you're standing, to connect our feet to the floor, just noticing our feet on the floor, noticing the support and the connection of our feet, of our body on the floor. And then we're going for the motion of shaking sand off as though we're at the beach. And I like to start at the bottom, going from my feet and then shaking through the hips, up to the shoulders and the arms. And we want to go at a pace that feels right for us. Maybe you really want to have a vigorous, hard shake. Maybe you want to be a little bit slow about it. Maybe that you want to be kind of gentle. Following your body. What does your body want to do? And then let's slow that down and just take a moment to stop and notice. Often after these exercises, your body might wiggle or do something. See how that felt for you. And we're going to do that one more time if you want to follow along. And if you hadn't tried that exercise before, Now you can just really guide yourself of what might feel the most supportive. So maybe you want really vigorous shake, or maybe you want to be gentle. So if you want to start from the bottom of your body and then moving up, just give a nice shake. And we want to make sure we're breathing while we're shaking and noticing any parts of the body it feels really good to shake. Shaking it out and stopping anytime it doesn't feel good. And then let's slow that down and bring that to a close. We can bring ourselves back to seated if we've been standing. And let's take a moment to just settle. We can offer ourselves some nice soothing touch. Putting our arms, crossing our arms, and just giving ourselves some nice soothing touch. When we give ourselves touch like this, or we're hugging somebody, or if we have that skin, that touch contact for more than 30 seconds, we get a nice hit of oxytocin, known as the love hormone, which, we all want more of, right? And what's amazing is oxytocin feels good. You can also do a heart, but it also inhibits cortisol. And cortisol is the high stress hormone that we get a big injection of, but it's known as the high stress hormone. It's high energy hormone. We get a big injection of when we are going into survival, when we're really, feeling kind of edgy. So wherever it feels supportive to touch, maybe our hands feels nice, going what feels possible for us right now. And making sure that we're breathing, checking in with our breaths. Wonderful. Yay. So now I would like to move into a body scan. And the purpose of the body scan is when we feel overwhelmed, when we feel that edginess, we disconnect from our body. And we're not usually aware of it. We tend to have very shallow breathing, or we stop breathing when we're very intensely overwhelmed, very stressed, but we also disconnect from our body. So the body scan is a really lovely exercise to do to bring us back into safe connection with our body. So if you would like to follow along, I'm going to guide you, and I'd like to encourage you to get nice and comfortable. Maybe you want to wriggle around in your seat, grab a pillow to put your hands on. And if it feels safe and comfortable, you can close your eyes. If that doesn't feel good, you can have a nice low gaze. And let's bring our attention and our awareness to our toes. Giving our toes a little wriggle, connecting to our toes. And then letting our awareness move along our feet to our ankles. Letting our awareness move up our calf muscles, all the way to our shins, along to our shins, all the way to our knees. And if anything feels disconnected or numb, we can either flex the muscle or we can rub the area that feels numb. Letting our attention move along our knees, along our thighs, all the way to our hips. Can we feel our hips and the space between our hips? Letting our attention gently move up to our tummy, softening our tummy, softening any holding, along our chest, up to our shoulders. Can we feel our shoulders? Can you feel the inside of your shoulder? And then letting your attention move down from your shoulders, along your arms to your elbows. And then along to your wrists and your fingers. Can you feel your fingers? And then your neck, the back of your neck, running up to your back of your head, to the top of your head, and your forehead. And you soften and feel your forehead. And you feel your cheeks and your nose and your mouth and your jaw. And then letting your attention move down your back, down the big muscles of your back, holding your body, supporting your body, all the way down to your backside. And then noticing, can you feel your body? Wonderful. And then if your eyes are closed and you feel ready, you can just gently open your eyes. Maybe take a little quick scan of the room. Maybe your body wants a little movement or stretch. And how did that feel? I'm going to share a couple more exercises. And this next one is very short exercise and to do with our jaw. Now, when things feel a lot, when we feel overwhelmed, we clench our jaw. It's one of the first signs of that survival overwhelm activation. Because in the wild, if we were living out in the wild, as we did for a long time in history, if there was a threat to us, we would start to clench our jaw. That's one of the first things that happens. We listen, we put our head forward, we start listening. You know, there's a noise in the bushes, we start listening, and we clench our jaw. And we do that because our jaw is extremely important. If we lose our jaw, then we can't eat, can't survive. So we are still wired to have these responses, even though, you know, we're not living out in the wild anymore. So often when we have a lot of overwhelm, we have a lot of stress, we'll clench our jaw without really necessarily knowing, and then we hold a lot of tension in the jaw. So we want to start to kind of release some of that. And also, we can hold a lot of emotion in our jaw, specifically things like anger and rage, you know, when we haven't spoken up. when we haven't been able to stand up for ourselves, for example. So I'm going to share a little exercise which you can follow along if you'd like to. We're going to just to start releasing our jaw. And when we start releasing our jaw, sometimes we start to make sounds, you know, and that's wonderful. All sounds are welcome. So, and I'll give you a couple of other suggestions as we're doing this. So we want to unlock our jaw and just start moving it around. Just exploring that tension that might be there. And then maybe we want to make some shapes or some noises. I'm going to try and make my noises very quietly so I'm not distracting you. Maybe we want to let out a big sigh, or we want to, and just feeling how that is for us. Does that feel supportive? Do we think, does that feel like, yes, getting some of that tension out? Now I'm going to stop us there. We will only do a little tiny bit of that. There's a little bit more that we can do, but I want to just give you just a tiny bit so that you're just getting an understanding. If that is a place you hold tension, that can be a really nice thing to do. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. So the next thing I would like to share is I've got two more exercises, and this one is called a shoulder squeeze. And when we are overwhelmed, we tend to brace a lot. We tend to have our shoulders very kind of up high or forwards. So this exercise is about releasing that tension here if it's from that, it's not from a kind of physical structural issue. So if you'd like to follow along, it's about releasing the tension, telling our nervous system that we can release the tension from the shoulders. And also it helps to open up our breath again, which is very positive for us when we are overwhelmed, getting some good breathing going. So I want to invite you, if you want to follow along, to pull your shoulders up to your ears and just scrunch everything up. And we're going to hold that tension for a couple of seconds, just holding it. And then over a count of 10, we're going to release that tension. So tiny bit by tiny bit. So again, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, letting the tension melt out of your shoulders, out of your hands, out of your face. 2, 1, all the way down. And you might have a sigh after that. You might notice your breath has opened up. Wonderful. Now I'd like to end with an exercise that is about balancing our energy. It can give us a little bit of energy as well. So after we've gone through those exercises, and it's called a quadrant wake up. Now it's great to do it standing up if you would like. It can also be quite relaxing depending on what your energy is like in this moment. I'm going to sit down whilst I'm describing it. But if you would like to stand up, actually, I'm going to stand up. Why not? What we're going to imagine is that we've got 4 quadrants of our body. So we're dividing our body into 4 quadrants along here. With a firm tap or brushing, we're going to tap the whole or brush the whole of the first quadrant. So just tapping the skin, we're waking up the skin. And we're also making sure that we're breathing. And we want to tap that whole area. We can get behind us. Shoulder. And then let's just stop. Take a moment to notice how that quadrant that you tapped feels compared to the rest of your body. And then let's go for the other quadrant. So we're tapping on as firmly as feels possible for us. Around our back. And then bringing that to a close. And again, noticing the difference between the top and the bottom. And then we'll go for the first lower quadrant. Bending our feet, our hands. Breathing. And then again, taking a moment to notice. And then let's go for the last one. Great. And then bringing that to a close. Notice how that feels in your body. For me, it feels like fizzy. I feel a little bit fizzy, a little bit energized, also a little bit calmer. Great. Okay, so that is the end of the exercises. If anyone would like to share anything that they experienced or ask me any questions, you are super welcome. After the questions, I'm going to talk a little bit about my program, if anyone wants to stay on and hear about that. But we are at the half-an-hour mark, so if people are ready, they've got what they wanted, then you're super welcome to hop off and I will see you another time. So whatever works for you. And thank you so much for coming. Does anyone have any questions? I was late. What did I miss before the shake? So before, you're so welcome, Lynn. Lovely to see you. Before the shake, we did orienting to safety and some regulating breath. They'll be on the recording and I can send you the recording if you want to watch that. Those are both very calming, regulating exercises that we can use when we feel anything feels a bit too much, anything feels a bit edgy. You're so welcome. Thank you so much. What a gift to connect to our bodies with our feelings. So helpful to remember we are mind bodies. Yes. Yes. Thank you for that comment, David. It's so, you know, this practice that I do is all about getting us out of the thoughts when we're having intense, emotional, overwhelming thoughts and into our bodies, because it's in our bodies that we can make the change in how we're feeling. You know, so many of us had this kind of education that if we could, you know, we could think our way out of our emotions, or we could just try and kind of fix everything. If we just worked it all out, then everything, we'd change how we feel. But if we can change how we feel in our body and our nervous system, then automatically our thoughts change, our outlook changes. We feel so much more positive and relaxed. You're so welcome, Charlie. Yes, I will send out the recording. And thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Sharon. You're so welcome, Miranda. Yeah, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. That was a wonderful way to spend half an hour. Yes, I'm so pleased. Great. You are so welcome. Is it Elaine? I'm, my pronunciation can be a bit. So sorry if I said your name wrong. Sorry if I said anyone's name wrong. Great. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask me about the practice or about any of the things that might have come up for you? And actually, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, Roberta. I'm going to stop the recording. So if anyone wants to ask me anything,